Charlie Kirk has made a name for himself as a bold and influential figure, especially when it comes to challenging popular opinions. Known for his direct debates and fearless approach, he tackles topics like identity, education, personal responsibility, and the core values shaping our society. In this video, we'll highlight some of his most striking moments as he challenges mainstream ideas and sparks nationwide conversations. If you're up for a fresh, no-nonsense perspective on today's hot topics, hit subscribe, and let's get started.
I think men can give birth. I think that...
yes or no question?
I think that a person who is assigned male at birth, I don't think they can give birth.
Assigned male at birth? So people are not male at birth?
I think that a person...
See, your evidence that college is a scam, my friend.
Charlie Kirk dives into what he sees as contradictions in modern gender ideologies. He argues that these discussions often drift away from biological facts, replacing them with subjective and overly complex definitions. According to Kirk, redefining terms like man and woman creates confusion and disconnects people from objective reality. Rather than clarifying identity, he believes this approach introduces ambiguity, making it harder for people to navigate these conversations. Kirk also takes aim at higher education, viewing it as a hub for impractical ideologies that, in his opinion, fail to equip students with real-world skills. He criticizes colleges for prioritizing ideological conformity over critical thinking and practical knowledge, leaving students with hefty debt and degrees that don't lead to success. To Kirk, this system isn't just flawed, it's a scam that exploits young people eager to learn, burdening them financially while pushing agendas that don't serve their futures.
So everyone in the audience here, how many of you have had to take classes that are a waste of time, that you wish you didn't have to take, that are a waste of money, and that every single hand goes up? Look around, look around, look around, no, look around. They're scamming every kid in this audience. They are forcing them to take classes that make them poorer, that take up their time in order to get the credential. That is an institutional scam. And by the way, every other part of life is all about your own customization. Your Netflix account, how you get your burrito bowl, from how you dress, your Amazon cart is you are in charge. But you come to college and they say you must go take these 3, 4, 5 classes that are very expensive, especially for you out-of-state students, to go further into debt, study things that don't matter, to find jobs.
With hands raised across the room, Kirk points to this as evidence of colleges requiring unnecessary coursework. He argues that these classes do little more than inflate the cost of education, adding to the financial burden students face. In his view, these requirements serve the institutions more than the students, prioritizing profit over practical learning.
Graduates, and they actually want to hire people that didn't go to college.
What employers?
You can name them out, man. Walmart just got rid of their, even in their corporate level, so you don't need to go to college. Coke Industries, one of the largest employers in the country, from Georgia Pacific Railroad to Dow Chemical. They said we no longer want kids that have gone to college because they end up causing problems because they're super entitled and they're like, oh, what are my pronouns? And they have all this like...
Kirk highlights companies like Walmart and Coke Industries as examples, suggesting that many employers view recent college graduates as more focused on entitlement and ideology than on practical skills. He argues that businesses are growing wary of hiring graduates who seem ill-prepared for the real demands of the workplace. For Kirk, this trend underscores a troubling disconnect between what higher education provides and what the job market actually requires, reinforcing his belief that colleges are failing to prepare students for success in today's competitive economy.
Of what a woman is.
If I decided right now that I wanted to identify as a woman, I would be a woman.
Okay, but that doesn't answer the question.
I know, but right now I'm a man, right? So if that happened right now, I'd be a woman. So once a person makes the decision to identify as a woman,
got it. No,
they're a woman.
That's a separate issue. What is a woman?
That's the definition.
No, I know, but you have to tell me what...
A person who identifies themselves as a woman.
But you have how do you know that they are that thing?
How do I don't need to know what they are. I can ask them if I want to know.
But there needs to be, you need to tell me what that thing is.
This question reflects Kirk's stance on identity, which he believes should have clear, concrete definitions rather than being as fluid as progressive ideologies suggest. To Kirk, terms like man and woman need precise meanings to maintain social stability and ground identity in something objective. Without these boundaries, he argues, society risks entering a slippery slope where self-identification conflicts with biological or traditional understandings. In his view, such fluidity undermines cultural norms and creates challenges in areas like legal standards and even everyday communication.
Say that one more time?
Can you pick your adjectives in life?
I mean, obviously not, right? I'm not
Okay, so then if you can't pick your adjectives, why can you pick your...
Kirk challenges what he sees as inconsistencies in the concept of self-identification, particularly regarding pronouns. He questions why society treats some aspects of identity, like gender, as flexible while keeping others, such as age or race, fixed. To Kirk, this selective approach reveals a contradiction in progressive ideologies, where personal preference is prioritized in certain areas but not others. He argues that this lack of consistency creates confusion around the concept of identity and raises deeper questions about the standards behind these choices. In his view, this framework is arbitrary and unsustainable, blurring the lines between personal freedom and objective reality.
Definition. So then you think so lowly of women that you think that someone can just look like one, put on a bra with a dress and makeup, and that magically they enter a woman.
Kirk argues that reducing womanhood to outward appearance, such as clothing or makeup, undermines the depth, history, and unique experiences that define being a woman. He believes that this oversimplification trivializes an identity rich in cultural, biological, and personal significance. For Kirk, this approach erases the nuances and lived experiences of women, replacing them with superficial markers that fail to reflect the true complexity of womanhood. He contends that this perspective diminishes the meaning of being a woman and risks sidelining the voices of those who have fought to define it on their own terms.
Female, or want to be female. Well, isn't that technically just telling God that He's wrong? You're pretty much just beating him down. I mean,
yeah.
How would you respond to someone?
Sure. I mean, with love and compassion, I mean, they're in the midst of a delusion. And people that are in the midst of a delusion need to be told the truth and need to be helped. But if you think you're in a different biological, being than you actually are, you're suffering from something. And the American Psychiatric Association used to call this gender dysphoria. We no longer call it that. And so the real question should be, why is it all of a sudden the new way of treating this, which is with chemical castration and extremely expensive drugs and pediatric gender surgery, better than maybe telling a 12-year-old, hey, you're a woman, you're going through puberty, maybe let's have some counseling for 6 months or 2 years or 3 years before we, make you go under with the knife and make you have irreversible damage. And so everything should be done with love and compassion. I think it's cruel and harsh and medieval to have teenagers, thousands of which every single year have their breasts chopped off and are having mastectomies. I had an unbelievably powerful hour-long dialogue with a detransitioner. By the way, we are about to see one of the saddest community of people grow exponentially, which are detransitioners. And like clockwork, you get administered testosterone, all of a sudden you start to feel stronger, more mental clarity, but it has a plateau effect after 3 or 4 years. And you always think like you need more surgery, and you need more surgery because if you think that's actually going to solve the problem, it probably isn't, because it's a much deeper identity problem that you're having, right? And so the way that it was actually solved successfully by counselors across the country was through cognitive behavioral therapy and going through a process of loving on the person enough to tell them the truth that they're actually not the thing that they think that they are. And here's the best example I have for this. It is not loving.
Advocates for a compassionate approach to addressing gender dysphoria, emphasizing counseling and mental health support over immediate medical interventions. He raises concerns about surgeries and treatments for minors, questioning their long-term effectiveness and potential consequences. In his view, providing thoughtful, non-invasive care is a more responsible way to support individuals navigating these complex issues.
American culture than the glorification of victimhood. There is nothing admirable or virtuous about being a victim. In fact, it should be the exact opposite. Life is suffering, even if you have a bunch of money or you have no money. If you were born in a horrible economic condition, no matter what, you are going to go through some form of adversity and some form of suffering. Stop being a victim, okay? There's nothing worse than that, because no one cares about how you feel. I can't wait one day one day, these spoiled brat protesters that on a lot of these campuses go to the dean's office one day, just one day, and they go say all the things that they're offended about. They go all the things, they play the victim card, even though they go to like Tufts, which give me a break. I mean, like, for example, you're an African-American student at Tufts, you're really that oppressed? Like, go make something of your life. Stop protesting these fictitious social justice causes. I can't wait for one of these presidents to just say, deal with it. Just deal with it. It's not my problem. You, the individual, go deal with that problem. Stop trying to play this blanket victim card just because of some BS identity group narrative that some leftist professor that's very unhappy.
Charlie Kirk criticizes what he sees as today's culture of victimhood, arguing that it promotes dependency and resentment instead of personal growth. He believes that focusing too much on who has been wronged or disadvantaged undermines personal accountability and self-empowerment, qualities he considers vital for overcoming challenges. In his view, a victim-centered mindset discourages resilience and ambition, encouraging people to dwell on grievances rather than take control of their circumstances. Kirk advocates for embracing responsibility, even in tough situations, as a more empowering approach that fosters both individual and societal strength.
Are afraid of the R word, but honestly, being a person of color, the only racist remarks I hear every day in the media are coming from the white liberal who thinks can't do math, I can't get a freaking driver's license, I can't read, and somehow I made it to college by being a victim, right? So if we want to take action, how do we wake up these minorities, and how do we get our conservative people who are colorblind, and I trust them more than any white liberal any day to not be racist? How do we team up and fight back against these white liberals with these ideas that we're all illiterate, can't get a driver's license?